Emily stood by the window of her small Brooklyn apartment, the streetlights outside casting long sharp shadows, highlighting the peeling paint on the wall. The evening air was chilly, carrying the scent of rich coffee from the cafe downstairs mingled with the comforting aroma of toasted bagels. Yet, instead of warmth, it brought Emily an unsettling, inexplicable feeling of agitation. Clutched in her hand was an odd letter. The envelope wrinkled, nameless, bearing only scrawled, haunting handwriting, "You don't know the truth, but she's in danger." Emily shivered, letting out a shaky breath. Glancing around the familiar room that now seemed strange, imbued with mystery, her heart hammered a mixture of fear and surging curiosity. She turned to look at John, her boyfriend, sitting on the sofa, a hot mug of tea in his hands, his eyes filled with worry and care. "Emily, what is it? You look completely stressed out," John asked, his voice low, gentle, but carrying a serious undertone. She bit her lip, hesitating for a moment, then handed him the letter. "John, could you open this? I don't know if we should open it, but I have a feeling it's important." John took the envelope, his hands slightly trembling. He opened it slowly, as if fearing that every detail might unleash a terrible secret. Several photos tumbled out, along with a small piece of paper bearing the same scrawled but clear message. "You don't know the truth, but she's in danger." Emily froze. Her heart felt like it would burst from her chest. She bent down and picked up one of the photos, staring intently. It showed a familiar woman, their neighbor, standing in front of a shadowy building, the dim light illuminating her strained face. A cold wave ran down Emily's spine. "Danger? Who? Who is in danger?" Her voice was a trembling mixture of fear and confusion. John placed a hand on her shoulder, his gaze serious, his voice firm. "We have to find out the truth. Right now. We can't wait." Emily shook her head, tears starting to well up. "But, what do we know? We don't have a single clue." "That's exactly why we have to investigate. The longer we wait, the more dangerous it gets," John replied, his tone resolute. He placed the photo on the coffee table and looked straight into her eyes. "We can't ignore this. If this is real, someone could be in serious trouble." The apartment fell silent, broken only by the wind whistling through the window crack and the yellow light reflecting on the wooden floor. Usually, Brooklyn at night was quiet, but now, with the strange letter and the mysterious photos, Emily and John felt a clear wave of unease approaching, pulling them into a chain of events neither of them could have ever imagined. Emily sighed, her eyes still glued to the photo, a sense of helplessness mixing with sharp determination. "John, if this is true, what do we do next?" John tightly squeezed her hand, his voice deep and steady. "We're going to find the answers together. Don't be afraid. Only the truth can save her." Emily nodded, even though her heart was still racing, threatening to break out of her ribs. They stood there, looking at each other in silence, knowing that from this moment on, the peaceful life they once had was over. A journey full of mystery, peril, and resolve had begun, pulling them into a world where every step could change their destiny. The next morning, Emily and John left their small Brooklyn apartment, armed with the photo and a restless, consuming sense of unease. The city was wide awake, the screech of traffic, the chatter of early commuters, and the scent of toasted bread and dark roasted coffee. The familiar scene felt heavy to Emily, as if every street corner was watching them. "Where do we even start?" Emily asked, her eyes darting to the photograph. The chill from last night still lingered on her spine. John leaned in, studying every detail in the picture. "She's standing in front of this building. We can look for clues from neighbors or security cameras nearby. We have to be careful, Emily. This doesn't feel like a simple disappearance." They arrived at the building shown in the photo, an old brownstone, the ground floor occupied by a small, dusty bodega. Emily frowned, a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. "It looks normal on the outside, but the atmosphere here, it's just off." Just then, a middle-aged man stepped out of the bodega, Mr. Thompson, one of their longtime neighbors from a few blocks away. John approached him, his voice calm and casual. "Hey, Mr. Thompson, have you seen the woman in this photo around lately?" Mr. Thompson squinted, his eyes scrutinizing. "No, I haven't, but she looks like someone who's in trouble." "What's going on?" Emily felt her heart pound. "We just want to make sure she's safe, sir." Meanwhile, John scanned the surroundings, noticing a small security camera mounted high on the corner of the bodega. "Emily, look, the camera. Maybe we can ask to see yesterday's footage. It could give us something." Suddenly, a sleek black sedan pulled up sharply across the street from the bodega. The car windows slid down, revealing a silhouette of familiar figure, but their face half hidden beneath a baseball cap. A rush of cold air went down Emily's back. "Do you see that?" Someone's watching us, ... John narrowed his eyes, a spike of pure danger rising. We need to be cautious. They know we're looking, Emily gasped, her eyes scanning the street. It looks like they knew our every move. John ... If they're trying to hurt someone. John gripped her hand tightly, his voice grave. Every second counts. We can't stop. If someone is genuinely in danger, we have to act now. They circled the building, examining every nook, every alleyway. Emily couldn't help but shiver as she saw shadows flicker past windows, or heard the creak of a door, as if someone was tracking them from afar. The feeling of being watched made her heart thump erratically. Emily, we need to find more information, maybe from the camera, or by asking other residents. We need to know exactly what's happening, John said, his voice low but decisive. Emily nodded, despite the persistent ache in her chest. Then, let's keep going. I'm scared, but we have to do something. If someone is in danger, we can't walk away. The air around the building became heavy. The early morning shadows clinging to the old brick walls, as if every step they took was monitored. Every minor sound, every fleeting glance forced them to pause, observe carefully, before moving forward. And so, amidst the bustling yet silently shadowed streets of Brooklyn, Emily and John plunged into the heart of the mystery. Every clue they found only opened up more questions, dragging them deeper into a dangerous spiral. They had never imagined a world where every move could change their own destiny. Emily and John left the dusty bodega, a heavy weight pressing down on their hearts. Brooklyn was bustling that morning, but to them, every sound, the blare of traffic, the chime of a shop bell, the hurried footsteps carried a shade of suspicion. Emily felt as if every street was watching them, the silhouettes of the old brick brownstones looking darker and more menacing than usual. John ... I feel like someone is following us, Emily whispered, her voice trembling as she squeezed his hand. Her heart hammered, each beat a drum of nerves and anxiety. John stopped and turned, his gaze serious. You're right, we need to be careful. If they know we're looking for answers, everything could get dangerous. They decided to duck into a nearby coffee shop, a place Emily remembered as having a good chance of finding a chatty neighbor. The cafe was small, bathed in soft yellow light, the aroma of roasted coffee mixing with mellow jazz. Yet Emily and John clearly felt the tension in the air. Every clink of a mug, every step on the floor, made them instantly alert, as if any movement could be a signal. Settling at a table near the window, they went over the photo again. John leaned in, pointing out a tiny detail. Emily, look closely. The shadow behind her. We might be overthinking it, but there's a good chance she was already being watched. Emily swallowed hard, her heart aching. If that's true, then the danger isn't just a warning on paper. It's real. Just as they focused on the photo, a barista passed their table, her gaze fleeting but making Emily feel intensely scrutinized. She leaned toward John, lowering her voice. Did you see that? Even people who seem normal could be part of this. John nodded, his voice low but firm. Every small detail matters. We can't dismiss anything. Suddenly, the cafe door chimed loudly, making Emily jump. A tall man in a dark coat walked in. His eyes swept the room, searching for someone. Emily felt a jolt of ice water run down her spine. John tightened his grip on her hand, whispering, "Stay calm. ... It looks like they're tracking us even here." The man passed their table, his eyes lingering for a split second on Emily, before he moved on. Emily let out a silent breath, her fear multiplying. "John, we are definitely being followed. There's no doubt now." John frowned, his expression grim. "Yes, and if they know we're hunting for clues, every step from here on will be riskier." Emily looked out the window and saw the black sedan still parked outside, silent but ominous. Her heart threatened to burst from her chest, yet a resolute part of her still yearned to uncover the truth. "John, we can't give up. We're scared, but we have to save her." John squeezed Emily's hand, his eyes burning with determination. "Together, Emily, we don't back down. Only the truth can save her, and ourselves." They left the cafe, moving quickly through small side streets and alleys where the shadows were deeper. The sense of being followed was even more palpable. Emily heard a car speed past, the faint click of a door closing behind them, each sound sending a fresh wave of panic through her. John stayed close, his hand never leaving hers, his eyes constantly scanning every corner, ready to react to anything. Amidst the quiet but perilous streets of Brooklyn, Emily and John stepped deeper into the darkness of the mystery. Every move could bring them closer to the truth or drag them into a danger they had never imagined. And from this moment, they knew that every decision, every action, could change their fate. Emily and John broke away from the bodega. hurrying down a narrow street in Brooklyn where old brick buildings pressed in closely. The yellow light of the street lamps reflected off the damp pavement, creating flickering patches of light and shadow on the sidewalk. The air was cold, a mix of car exhaust fumes, the strong scent of roasted coffee, and baked bread from small shops, a combination that felt both familiar and utterly chilling to Emily. She kept glancing around, her heart pounding relentlessly, as if every silhouette posed a potential threat. "John, I can't shake this feeling. Someone is definitely following us, and they aren't just watching," Emily whispered, her eyes wide and anxious. The cold sensation ran from the base of her neck all the way to her toes, forcing her to grip John's hand for reassurance. John stopped, turned, his gaze serious and his voice low. "You're right, we have to be extremely cautious. If they know we're hunting for clues, things are about to get very dangerous." He squeezed her hand, feeling her tremor, yet seeing the spark of determination in her eyes. They decided to head toward the building where the woman in the photo had been standing yesterday, hoping to find a crucial lead. The alley leading to the building was dark, the windows covered in dust and grime, only weak light spilling from a few vacant rooms. John gently pushed the door, which let out a long, grating creak, making Emily jump, her heart rate spiking. Inside, the room was empty, save for the smell of mildew and the sound of wind whistling through the window frames. "No one is here, ... Emily whispered, looking around, a painful stab of disappointment in her chest. The silence was so profound they could hear the wind through the cracks, and the faint chime of a wind bell from an upper floor. She felt an acute sense of unease, as if every wall, every shadow was observing them. Suddenly, a small noise echoed from the corner of the room. Emily turned just in time to see a small box fall from an old shelf, hitting the tiled floor. John bent down, picked it up, and opened it. Inside was a stack of papers and several more photographs. These pictures showed the woman standing in various parts of the city or park, a coffee shop, a grocery store, even the sidewalk in front of their own apartment building. Clearly she had been followed for days. A few of the photos were close-ups of the stalker, though their face was blurred. Emily's voice trembled. They've been following her for that long. Even when she went to the grocery store, the cafe... John flipped through the pages, his expression grim. "Yes. And look closely, Emily. This isn't just regular stalking. There are signs of a professional, organized group. They knew her every move." Emily looked around, the shadows deepening, the feeling of being watched intensifying. "John, if they realize who we are, what will happen to us?" John tightened his grip on her hand, his voice resolute. "We have to be ready for anything, but we can't stop. Every clue is vital. We have to save her before it's too late." Just as they were examining the papers, a dark figure flashed past an upper window, making Emily gasp, her heart nearly leaping out of her ribs. "Someone just went by. They know we're here." John pulled Emily toward the exit, his voice tense. "Hurry, we have to get out before they come back." Out of the alley they crouched behind an old delivery truck to catch their breath, their eyes fixed on the darkness behind them. Emily felt her body shaking, yet a part of her was intensely craving the truth. "John, we're about to step into the most dangerous territory yet, but I can't quit." John looked at her, his eyes serious and determined. "Together, Emily, we don't retreat. Only the truth can save her, and us." They continued their pace, moving through deeper side streets. The darkness was thick, and the surrounding sounds a creaking door, a car speeding past. Unfamiliar footsteps forced them to strain their eyes, watching every detail. Emily felt as if every street was tracking them, every silhouette harboring potential danger. As they neared the second building, where many crucial clues might unlock the larger secret, Emily couldn't suppress her rising tension. "John, we are truly entering a high-risk zone, but I'm ready. We have to save her at any cost." John squeezed her hand, his gaze burning with resolve. "Don't be afraid. Only the truth can save her, and it will save us, too." They stood before the building, the light from a few windows casting long dark shadows on the old pavement. The area was quiet but intensely tense, so much so that every breath echoed in the alley. Emily and John looked at each other, knowing the next step would be a major turning point, capable of completely changing everything or pulling them into a danger they had never imagined. Emily took a deep breath, trying to control her racing heart, her eyes fixed on the main door. "John, we need to be incredibly careful. Every step is a test. If we make a mistake, we might not get another chance." John nodded, his voice a low rumble. "We'll go in through the back. The front is too exposed. We need to observe, anticipate their movements, and maintain absolute silence." They moved along the service paths, enveloped by the darkness. Only their quiet footsteps and the wind whistling through the window cracks audible. Emily felt every sound, every slight movement, her heart thumping powerfully with each beat. The musty smell inside the old building made her feel suffocated, but her will remained firm. Just then, John found a broken window on the ground floor. He looked down, ensuring no one was below, then whispered, "Emily, we're climbing in here. Take every step carefully." Emily nodded, her heart still hammering. She clearly felt the tension spreading throughout her body. Each step onto the old stairs felt like an eternity, the creaking echoing in the empty floor, forcing them to stop, hold their breath, and listen. The upper floor was pitch dark, weak light from a few window cracks creating vague, moving shadows on the walls. Emily silently followed John, her heart ready to jump out, but she didn't retreat. Every decision now was a matter of survival. Suddenly, a scraping sound echoed from the end of the hallway like a door being pulled open, or someone just passing by. Emily flinched, holding her breath, listening intently. John pulled her close to the wall, his eyes fixed on the darkness. "Someone's here, ... John whispered, "but it's not clear who. We have to continue, but with extreme caution." Emily nodded, trying to steady herself. "John, I feel like we're stepping into a dangerous web, and we don't know the way out." John gripped her hand tightly, his eyes blazing with resolve. "Only the truth can save her, and we have to find it. Don't stop, Emily. Don't be afraid." They pressed on, the darkness thick, the surrounding sounds intense, the wind howling, strange footsteps, the drip of water from the ceiling onto the tiled floor. Everything made Emily feel like time was slowing down, everything around her becoming alive and threatening. With renewed determination, they held hands and stepped into the darkness, where mystery and danger awaited. Brooklyn, the city of bustling streets, had now become a cryptic maze, where every step could lead them to the truth, or pull them into a peril they had never imagined. Emily and John stood pressed against the old building, the faint yellow light from a few window cracks casting long, distorted shadows onto the damp pavement. The air was so heavy that every breath seemed to echo in the alley. Emily inhaled deeply, her heart pounding, every muscle coiled tight. She knew the next move would be the tipping point, where every decision was a matter of life and death. "John, I feel like someone is waiting for us," she whispered, her voice strained. John nodded, his eyes fixed on the darkness ahead. "That's right. They know we're here, and no one knows what comes next. We have to be extremely careful." They decided to enter through the back utility door. The brick wall was covered in moss and mold, with cracks that groaned audibly whenever they touched it. Emily held John's hand, moving slowly, her eyes glued to the shadows, feeling as if everything around them was alive and watching. As they slipped into the interior hallway, a blast of cold air hit them, carrying the heavy smell of damp decay. Emily saw a fast-moving shadow pass an upper-floor window. Her heart lurched. "John, someone just moved." John pulled her flat against the wall, his voice a tight whisper. "Silence. Let's see what they do." Suddenly, rapid footsteps echoed from the end of the hallway. Emily and John held their breath, their hearts slamming in their chests. A group of figures appeared, their steps heavy, their eyes sharply sweeping the corridor. They didn't spot Emily and John immediately, but their every gesture and glance radiated alertness. "We need to pull back," Emily whispered desperately, but John shook his head. "No, she's somewhere in this building, and we have to find a clue now." They silently pressed themselves into a dark corner, observing the group moving deeper down the hall. Emily noticed a small black bag clutched in one man's hand. John leaned in, examining it. Inside were more photos and papers, similar to the stack they had found earlier. "We can't let them take all the evidence. We need to grab it," John whispered, his voice tense but resolute. Emily nodded, forcing herself to be calm. They slowly crept closer to the group, their steps so light that the floorboards barely creaked. Emily's heart felt like it was trying to escape her chest, but her determination outweighed the fear. As they got nearer, a loud creak echoed from the adjacent staircase. The group spun around instantly, their eyes narrowed. Emily and John recoiled, their hearts hammering, an overwhelming sense of danger enveloping them. One of the men shouted, "Someone's here. Check every hallway." Emily yanked John into a nearby empty room, where they ducked behind a dusty old table. Sweat beaded on Emily's forehead, her heart threatening to burst. Emily whispered, "John, ... we're about to be discovered." John lowered his voice. "Quiet. Follow my lead." He spotted a small door leading to the upper floor, where faint light filtered through a window crack, creating bizarre shadows on the walls. They climbed the old wooden steps one by one, the wood protesting loudly with every upward movement. Emily was trembling, but she wouldn't retreat. Every step was a life or death gamble. Suddenly, a silhouette appeared at the top of the stairs. John pulled Emily against the wall, flattening her, his heart hammering wildly. The man walked past, oblivious to their presence. Emily felt like she couldn't breathe, her body shaking uncontrollably. Quickly, John whispered, "We're close." They slipped into a room at the end of the hall, where weak light from the window created long, distorted shapes. Inside, they saw stacks of papers and photos scattered across the floor. A young woman sat slumped over, her hands bound. It was the woman from the photograph. Emily froze, torn between running to her and fearing an ambush. John gently pulled her down, his voice low. "Stay calm. We have to free her without making a sound." They moved silently forward. Emily used a small knife to cut the woman's bindings. All three of their hearts pounded in unison, the tension unbearable. The young woman looked at Emily and John, her eyes filled with terror but also a desperate flicker of hope. Thank you, she rasped, her voice weak. John nodded. "We have to get out of here right now. Someone will be back any second." The moment they prepared to retreat, a shout erupted from the staircase. "There they are. Get them." The group had discovered their trail. John grabbed Emily and the young woman, sprinting back down the stairs, their feet pounding on the wooden steps, the floorboards clattering. Emily felt like her heart was going to jump out, her body shaking, but she didn't stop. As they burst out of the building, the Brooklyn night was cold and the darkness dense. They ran through the narrow streets, the faint yellow light of the street lamps reflecting on the wet pavement. The footsteps of the pursuing group echoed behind them, but John led them into a winding side alley, away from the main street's invisibility. Emily held the young woman close, panting, her eyes constantly scanning the surrounding shadows. John stopped behind a corner, listening as the footsteps behind them faded slightly. "We're temporarily safe, but we can't stop for long. They'll find a way to track us." All three crouched down in the darkness, listening. Their hearts still hammered violently. Emily felt a mix of adrenaline and exhaustion, but the will to save the woman pushed her forward. "John, we still have a way out, right?" she whispered. John looked at the young woman, then back at Emily, his gaze grim but determined. "Yes, as long as we keep moving, leave no trace, we'll survive and find the truth." Filled with resolve, they continued their desperate flight through the dark streets. The shadows offered both cover and a hiding place. Brooklyn, a city of bustling, endless streets, had now become a dangerous maze, where every step pushed them closer to the truth, or plunged them into a danger they had never truly conceived. Emily, John, and the young woman now identified as Sophie had escaped the old building and plunged into the dark streets of Brooklyn. The streetlights flickered, their weak yellow glow reflecting off the damp pavement, casting long, wavering shadows down the sidewalks. The air was brutally cold, the wind whipping through the narrow gaps, causing Emily to shiver violently. She felt the heavy pressure of survival on her shoulders, her heart racing. Every step was a calculated risk. "John, we need a safe place to rest and figure out our next move," Emily whispered, her voice tight with tension. John frowned, his eyes serious. "There's no time. They know we rescued Sophie. If we stop for too long, they'll track us. We have to head straight for a secure location before daylight." Sophie was still shaking, clinging tightly to Emily's jacket. I've never been this terrified. I thought they were going to kill me if they found out." Emily squeezed Sophie's hand, her voice gentle yet determined. "It's okay, Sophie. We're going to protect you. John will get us out of here." They turned into a side alley where the tall brick walls seemed to swallow them whole into the darkness. John pulled both women close to the wall, his eyes scanning every surrounding shadow. A foreign sound echoed, a door creaking, distant footsteps. Their hearts seemed to beat faster than ever before. "Stay alert. John whispered. "They're still tracking us. If we're spotted, we won't just lose the evidence. Our lives will be in extreme danger." Emily felt Sophie's shallow breaths, then looked at John. "We can't keep running like this indefinitely. We need a way to confront them." John nodded. "True, we need a plan. But first, a temporary hideout. I know a place, an old friend's apartment nearby, one nobody knows about." They moved quickly, taking stealthy steps, staying out of the light, weaving through the winding alleys. Every slight creak, every passing car made their hearts jump. Sophie stayed glued to Emily, her eyes constantly fixed on the darkness. Each step a suppression of her mounting fear. When they reached the old apartment, the rusted wooden door opened with a groan. Inside, it was pitch black, and smelled heavily of dampness. John quickly locked the door, pulling Emily and Sophie inside, panting heavily. "We're safe for now, But not for long. They'll find us soon enough. Emily looked around the gloomy room, her eyes filled with worry. John, what do we do to protect the evidence and save Sophie? If they find us, everything falls apart. John took a deep breath, his eyes tense, but resolute. We have to split the duties. I'll go out to look for more clues, determine the location of the trackers. Emily and Sophie, you stay here and guard the evidence, and ... Be careful, leave no trace. Emily shook her head firmly. No, John, we stick together. I can't let you go out there alone when the danger is this close. John looked at her, his voice low. Emily, I know the risk, but if we split up, we increase our chances of survival. I'll be back immediately. Trust me. Emily grabbed John's hands, her eyes burning with resolve. Go then, but promise me you'll come back. John nodded emphatically. I promise. He opened the door and dashed out into the darkness, leaving Emily and Sophie in the dark room, lit only by slivers of light from the window cracks. Emily held Sophie close, her heart thumping, a mix of fear and anxiety overwhelming her. Every outside noise made them hold their breath, as if everything could collapse at any second. We can't give up, Emily told herself. We have to find the truth, no matter the danger. Sophie won't be left behind. Outside, John crept along the streets, his eyes fixed on every figure, trying desperately not to be spotted. He knew the group was extremely dangerous, capable of killing anyone who stood in their way. Every step had to be calculated, every footfall had to be as silent as possible. Inside the apartment, Emily checked the papers and photos Sophie had brought with her. Each image was a crucial piece of the puzzle, revealing secrets about the stalkers and a conspiracy they hadn't fully grasped. Emily turned each page, feeling a surge of tension, yet the will to save Sophie kept her determined. The window pane rattled slightly. A dark shadow moved in the hallway outside. Emily pulled Sophie close, her heart racing. They're coming, she whispered, her voice trembling but firm. John suddenly reappeared, his eyes blazing with renewed resolve. We don't have much time left. They'll be back to find us at any moment. We have to prepare a counter-strategy now. Emily nodded, the tension reaching its peak. All right, we have to make a plan. There's no turning back. Sophie looked at the two of them, her eyes still fearful but a light of hope shining through. I trust you guys. We will survive. Emily squeezed Sophie's hand, her gaze full of determination. We will survive, and we will find the truth, no matter what the cost. Outside, the darkness deepened. The sounds of footsteps and distant noise intensified like a tightening knot of tension, creating a sense of pervasive danger. Emily, John, and Sophie knew they were entering the final, decisive turning point, where every action was a matter of survival, where truth and peril were inextricably linked. We will fight, we will survive, and we will uncover the truth, whatever we face. Emily vowed silently. John gripped both their hands, his eyes shining with resolve. Tonight, we don't back down. Every danger only makes us stronger. We're together, and no one gets left behind. And so, in the dark room, amidst the perilous shadows of the city of Brooklyn, the three people Emily, John, and Sophie prepared for the ultimate fight for survival where every decision, every move, would determine their fate and the truth they desperately sought. The night in Brooklyn remained cold and silent, broken only by the wind whistling through narrow gaps and footsteps echoing along the empty streets. Emily, John, and Sophie were preparing to step into their final confrontation, a moment where every decision was a matter of survival. The light from a few windows cast eerie, elongated shadows on the old pavement. They're closing in on us, John whispered urgently. If we don't act now, everything will be lost. Emily gripped Sophie's hand tightly, her eyes burning with resolve. We've come this far. We can't give up now. They pulled out a phone, attempting to text a few trusted contacts for backup, but the signal was weak. John knew they had to move fast. We split the mission. Emily, you take Sophie to the back exit. I'll hold them off if they spot us. Sophie looked at John fearfully. Will you? Will you be okay? John placed his hands firmly on her shoulders, his voice deep and decisive. Trust me, I have to do this. Just get the two of you out safe, and everything will be fine. Emily and Sophie slipped silently toward the rear of the building, their eyes glued to the darkness, their hearts pounding in sync. John took a stand in the main hallway, his gaze fixed on the approaching figures. The group of trackers spotted John and moved in, their eyes sharp, their hands gripping suspicious objects. John took a deep breath, focusing, every muscle tense. He lunged forward, using his agility to take down one man, then moved to create a shield for Sophie and Emily's escape. The sounds of running feet, The crash of objects hitting the wall echoed violently. John felt the immediate danger, but his will to protect the two women kept him from retreating. Emily and Sophie found their escape route through a narrow alley, illuminated by the harsh glow of the Emily pulled Sophie to run faster, her heart hammering a mix of terror and relief at their temporary escape. "We have to move quickly, and don't look back," Emily whispered. John was still fighting in the hallway. Every punch, every defensive move had to be precise. He knew that one mistake would end everything. When the remaining members of the tracking team finally realized they couldn't catch them, they retreated, leaving John alone in the dark corridor. He gasped for air, his body covered in scrapes and bruises, but a slight smile crossed his face. They backed off. "We survived." Emily hugged Sophie, watching John from a distance, her eyes filled with gratitude and emotion. Thank you. We made it." Sophie was still shaking, but tears fell, and a weak smile appeared. "I am not scared anymore. Because of you, I have a chance to live." John walked out soaked in sweat, his body exhausted but his eyes bright with determination. "We survived. But there's still so much work to do. We have to bring the truth to light so they can never threaten anyone again." Emily nodded, feeling both tired and relieved. "Yes, the truth has to come out, and we're ready to face it." They walked together out of the alley, stepping into the pale light of Brooklyn at dawn. The sounds of sparse traffic and distant voices echoed like life returning to normal, but in their minds, what they had just endured was deeply etched, the fear, the tension, but also the resolute courage and hope. Emily looked at John and Sophie, her eyes full of feeling. "We went through a terrifying night, but we stood firm, and we won't let fear control us anymore." John smiled gently. "We learned that sometimes, all it takes is courage and determination to overcome any danger. The truth will prevail, and we still have a chance to protect the innocent." Sophie held Emily in John's hands, her eyes gleaming with hope. "I know, thanks to you, I'll live and fight. No more fear." The Brooklyn sky began to lighten with the dawn, the light hitting the old brick buildings, illuminating the streets that moments ago were filled with darkness and peril. Emily, John, and Sophie paused, taking a deep breath, feeling a temporary peace but also knowing they had crossed the line of survival. Only one thing mattered now. "The truth must be safeguarded," Emily whispered. "We survived, and now, we won't back down. The truth will be revealed." John nodded, his eyes shining with resolution. "And no matter what we face ahead, we will do the right thing. No one gets left behind." The three walked along the Brooklyn street, the darkness fading, giving way to the light of a new dawn, a symbol of hope, survival, and a new beginning where they would continue to protect the truth and those who needed help. The story ends, but in their hearts, every experience, every fear, every moment of resolve will forever be the indelible mark of a night they fought to survive and protect the truth.